Welcome back, everyone. And now we are going to get in to the topic that I am really looking forward to. We're going to be talking about exploring the unknown, true accounts from a paranormal investigator. And we don't just have that investigator here, no. We have got the investigative team of Jen and Steve Hodgson. Now, Steve, last time we were talking about the paranormal, not seen on TV, or not as seen on TV, is that right?
That's correct, the dark side.
There you go. See,
Yep.
you know, we were just talking during the break there about hosts that don't do their research. I've got it covered, man. and now this time we're going to be talking to you, Jen.
Yes.
This book, now, I only received it late today. That's my excuse. The link was dodgy. I'll take the hit for that one. But
that's all right.
I had a little look at the table of contents before we came on air. I don't know where to start here, but I want to take you back. I mean, when did you first become aware of the fact that you did have a special ability?
Well, when I first realized what exactly it was that I was doing would be in 2010. Up until that point, I just assumed that everybody could do what I was doing, that they knew things without being told, that they could hear things or see things or just know things. It wouldn't be until that point that I would understand all of that. And that would happen not only after we started investigating, but also after my cousin passed away.
So were you investigating before you met Steve, before Steve came along?
I was not doing any type of investigations or anything like that. My everyday life was, I guess you could say, part of the paranormal. There was never like one thing where one thing started and the other thing ended. It was just all one big thing. I wouldn't know how to separate my life from what it was then to even what it is now. I mean, it's all just one big thing. So no, I wasn't doing anything like that, but I did have a lot of experiences. And again, I just chalked it up to that's part of everyday life that everybody experienced.
Yeah, you see, the paranormal is more normal for you. The supernatural is just
absolutely
natural. Yeah, it's just a part of your life.
Is.
So talk to us then about, the early kind of investigations. What kind of happened when that was going on?
Well, the very first investigation that we did, I know we talked about before at the old Blackford County Hospital.
That's right, yeah.
And that's kind of what opened the door and kind of turned my world upside down and inside out. And we had a lot of experiences there, or I had a lot of experiences there. And it was just a really neat place. But it, like I said, it opened the door to where I was exploring more, I was feeling more, seeing more, hearing more, and it just kind of went from there. Even after that investigation into other investigations, it was still all the same. There was a lot of things that was learning, but Blackford County Hospital is definitely the one that will always be the number one for me when it comes to that.
And we need to go on record, too, in case people are looking it up. It is no longer an old abandoned hospital anymore. Mm-hmm. It's actually been renovated, and it's a living facility, senior living facility. God bless those people. But
yeah, these hospitals, right? And that is a bit disconcerting, thinking of, old people staying in a haunted location, right?
No, I was this close. One of the times we were up there, because there's an old jail we investigate there, too, a couple of blocks away. And we went driving past the hospital, and it had now renting on the outside. Come in for a free tour, and I said, "Oh, come on, let's do it. I want to walk through this place." And she's like, "No, they're going to recognize who we are." Well, and I was like, "No, they won't. I'll put on Irish accent, anything. You just."
It would have been. I mean, it would have been really difficult for somebody to not recognize who we are, because we've had articles written in newspapers, and it went national. So, I mean, when we would go there, people would sit outside on their porch and they would watch from their lawn.
Yeah, we were there entertainment. Hey, those guys are back again. And
I mean, it was just crazy. So, I mean, we had a lot of things happening. You would hear, there was a radio that would play, even though there was no electricity in this building. There was in the hospital they had like the old breakers, so you would hear those being turned on and nobody was turning them on, and you would see this big dark shadow and there's nothing there. And I mean, there was just so much stuff. And then on one of the investigations that we did there was actually water everywhere. I mean, it hadn't rained or anything like that, and the floors, the walls, the ceilings, everything was sweating, and literally you had to be very careful or you were going to fall on your butt. It was insane.
Never even. I'm going to be 62. I've never seen walls and ceilings sweat except in a movie. But I mean, there was literally water pouring down the walls.
Yeah. And as it got darker, it got worse. Like when we first got there, it was just a little bit, and then as the night went on, it was like flooded, and it hadn't rained. There was no rain anywhere. Hadn't rained for days, and this is happening. And then every time we wanted to go to the basement to investigate, which I'm so disappointed that I didn't get to, because the morgue was actually down there, and every time we did, it would flood. They would pump all the water out and it would flood. So there was something that didn't want us down there. And I'm so disappointed because that's something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to check that area out, and
the water was black and green.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't care what I was wearing. I was not walking through that.
No,
Yeah.
that's not good, dude.
Yeah.
That's definitely not good. But I can tell just by looking at you, Jen, you really wanted to get down there. You really wanted to get in about it.
I really did. Well, the reason I did is because when I was born, I was actually born in the older part of the hospital, which was actually the morgue. And so I was like, I wanted to go see what this was like. I wanted to see, because I mean, being born in an area, you don't ever get to go back to that area, I mean, except for when you die, obviously.
Yeah.
But you don't get to go back and see that area. So I wanted to see what that was like. I wanted to see what it actually looked like in a hospital, because that's actually where I was born. So I don't know if my gifts have something to do with that, because I was born in an area where there was a lot of death, or if it's genetic, so I have no idea on that part.
Yeah, and I can't remember, but does your family have this gift? Does it go back through the generations?
Now, my grandma did. I was able to talk to my grandma about this. I mean, she would see things and she would know things, but not to the extent of what I can do. There are some people who need to meditate for hours to be able to connect and do a reading, and I don't have to do that. Like I said, I don't know how to. I wouldn't know. It would be like cutting my arm off, and I wouldn't know what to do without it. It's just something that is so ingrained in me and so part of me that I would be lost without it.
So, Jen, when you turn up to a location then, do you instantly feel something about that place? Do you know right away, or do you have to really get in about it, or do you just sense it?
It really varies. A lot of times I have information before I even get there. I'm able to see into other locations without physically being there. So I'm able to kind of get an idea of what the place looks like. And I also I have names and different like dates and stuff before I even arrive at a location. It doesn't matter if we're doing a public location or if we're doing a private home or even a business. I always have information way ahead of time. And it's just something that comes to me. It's not something unusual, but I'm not the only one that has that happen. Other team members will have dreams and they will sense things and know things before we get to a location as well. So we're all pretty well gifted in that area as far as knowing and things when it comes to an investigation. But yeah, I definitely do. And then when I get there, I'm able to hone in on a lot of other things and connect more with the family that's there and help them to get closure.
You see, again, I'll come to you, Steve. This is something that usually gets forgotten in amongst all of these stories, these ghost shows and everything. It's the family at the center of this. When it is a living property, there's people in there. And I mean, I'm the most guilty of this. I sit and enjoy these shows and I get my jumpy moments. And And part of the time I forget, somebody's got to live in this location. And Bill was on Ghost Nation with the guys from the Taps team. And
Right, we saw that.
yeah,
Yep.
the gentleman in that, I mean, at the start of the show, when he was talking about what he's going through, he looked like it was a very harrowing experience for him.
You see, one of the reasons we get asked why we do this, our team, and it's really this. The way I look at it, there's somebody who needs our help.
Yep.
And that's what we don't charge or anything like that. But I can't, in good conscience, that's just the person I am and what's bred. If somebody's asking me for help and I have a way we can help them, then I'm going to try to help them.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And I think that comes through to the homeowner when we get there, that we're there to genuinely help. We're not, there's people showing up with cameras and, okay, we got to record this for YouTube. And I mean, we have people ask us, are you coming with camera crew? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like you're calling the wrong group. I like to joke around, as you've seen and stuff. I have a sense of humor, but we're serious about what we're doing. And, we'll come back 2 or 3 times. If there's still a major problem, like we think with something evil, like we talked about when when we were on with Bill, we had Bill come down and help the people. Mm-hmm. It's not a joke to us. Now, we do enjoy going out and investigating. Like I said to you, we were at Loveland Castle on Saturday, where our entire group was there. And to us, we like doing those because we're not in someone's home.
Yeah.
How can I explain that? Okay. We don't have to watch what we say or something like that because we're in someone's home. So we try new things. Like this weekend, we tried our new cameras. We bought this WYZE pan cameras, and I don't have to run long cords, tripod set up to a DVR and all this stuff. I mean, basically, we sit them down on a shelf. I turn it on with my cell phone. It's set to my network. I point it, and it records to a little SD card.
It's fantastic, isn't it? The technology's
we
always getting
tore
better.
Down in 4 minutes. When we finished on Saturday night, you don't need all that other stuff. So yeah, you don't want to do that in someone's house and say, oh shoot, we didn't get, the bedroom cameras didn't work and stuff. We wanted to make sure what we're doing. We tried new techniques, and it's a little lighter. Like there was 10 of us in a very small castle. It's unlike the castles over where you're at. Okay, those are castles.
When we come to visit, you can take us to a
that sounds good to me.
Castle to investigate.
Yeah. Bring Bill Bean with you as well.
I will.
We'll get a camera crew. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. But and
he, it was a nice place, but we saw there were too many of us at one time, so we kept half the crew out and half the crew in. And it's funny because the first time they went out for a break, Elvin and myself stayed inside. We didn't go out for a break. They all went out. And nothing really was going on, maybe little hits here and there. But as soon as they left, we're sitting there right next to each other, no one else in the building. Then we start hearing the footsteps, and we start hearing the noises. And that's when you suddenly get that icebox feeling, where something is in front of you. And it was a little chapel that we were in, and we kept hearing the noise outside, right around the wall. And that's where the person who built the place, that was his bedroom, was there. So I personally think it's the stairwell that came up that leads right to his bedroom. I think that's residual of him walking to that thing. But we were inside this, I was in this chapel by myself. Guys run down the other way. And, I'm very meditative, close my eyes. I'd like to call it become one with the room. Because if you really concentrate on everything that's going on, you hear every sound, what's not paranormal and what is. And all of a sudden, right in front of me, there was, if I grabbed 5 books and just dropped it on the floor, I jumped about 3 feet.
Oh, dude.
I mean, it was, I had my eyes closed and stuff, and all of a sudden it was like bang. There was nothing in front of me but that icebox feeling. And trust me, it was hot inside that second floor. It was a welcome the icebox feeling, but I was like, wow, that's amazing. And they all like, what is it? And I was like, wow, something scared the crap out of me. A little later on, we went into the other room and we spread out, and our investigator Paul was sitting there. And I was in the next little room, and Elvin was in the back room, and it happened again. Okay, he jumped about 3 feet. It was right in front of him. And I mean, the flashlight went like right on, and I could see that, exactly where he was looking was the exact same thing that happened. So there was activity there. We've had so many good things. We haven't had a chance to listen back to it yet, audio and watch the video back. I mean, it was just Saturday, and I've just about caught up with my sleep.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got clips as well. When we get to the last segment today, we'll go through some of these audio clips, because I think audio clips make for some of the best radio/YouTube content there is, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that. But let me ask you then, Jen, I mean, have you ever turned up somewhere, maybe a family have reached out, or a location, they think they've got paranormal activity, you've turned up there and there's no vibe going on? Has that ever happened?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are some people who play it up, and I will tell him, this is not a good case, there's nothing going on there, but he's still insistent that we go. And so we go, and there's nothing going on there, and it's like, I try to tell you, there's nothing going on.
So Jen, do you have like a kind of spirit guide, as they're called? Do you have one familiar kind of spirit that helps you?
I do. I have several spirit guides, but the main one is Chief. He's always with me. He's one that protects my energy very well, and he doesn't allow people around me, whether they're living or not living. He does not allow people around me. There's actually very few people who can connect to my energy, and one that really connects to my energy really well is Scotty, and he's a fellow psychic medium, and he's about the only one that can really connect with me and get me without even saying anything. But yeah, I do have a spirit guide that is with me all the time. And there are times that we go into places and people really just want to experience an investigation, or they are really just looking for a reading. And that's really what it comes down to. And so we've actually had to have some other members to be the one that contacts people for those reasons. We want to make sure that they're just not wasting our time, and we don't want to waste their time.
You can't just, I know myself, if there's children and stuff involved, you can't just say, well, this really doesn't sound right. Because if, God forbid, even the parents are feeding this into their child and scaring their child, someone still has to go and clear this up for them. So, I know it's terrible, because I feel like I'm the entertainment, and that, I'm sorry, at my age, I'd rather be sitting down on the couch, my feet up on the recliner or something, watching television, maybe having a Guinness or something and just relaxing, instead of coming home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, lugging all this equipment, because it's our equipment.
Yep.
So it's me and her got to unpack all this stuff out of the car and put it all away and stuff, and then of course our dogs and stuff haven't seen us all night, so you can't just walk in and say, that's it, we're going to bed. They're like, hey, how are you? So you got to stay and play with them for a few minutes. And, then she usually nods right out, but I'm the one who just drove 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm like.
Exactly. It's the same as doing a podcast. I'm full of adrenaline, and I finish at midnight. And I usually play Scrabble to wind down a bit. But even then, Steve, the adrenaline's still pumping, and you can put your head down all you like, but sleep is the furthest thing from your body, And then
you're replaying the entire investigation again that you lived all over again.
Now, I like the sound of the fact you try new equipment. And again, I'm going to come back to you on the book in a moment. But if I just press you on that, Steve, I'm a sciencey type guy. I mean, in your opinion, what's the best apparatus that you've used that you think really kind of gives true measurement of something paranormal.
You need to remember that. Every time we do presentations, we get asked that same question, and I say we all own it. It's our eyes and our ears. While we're sitting there looking at, a K2 or an Ovilus or any of these stupid contraptions, okay, and watching that, you could have a little full body apparition pass right by you, but you're too busy looking down at something, and many times they're cute toys. Some of our team really enjoys them more than others. I'm a little more, even that spirit box, I almost want to take like a shotgun and blow it away.
I feel that way about them as well.
Oh man, it drives me absolutely crazy. Yeah, maybe probably if you spend $600, you can get the stuff to stop the noise. But nah, I don't like that. What about you? Do you have any equipment you like to?
This weekend we actually got to use the REM pod, and so Shauna and I were upstairs, and we had it sitting at the end of the table, and we were sitting in the middle to make sure that we weren't contaminating anything. And so I would have to say that was probably like the coolest thing ever that I ever saw, was this thing. I mean, it was playing music and lighting up and everything else, and nobody was near it or picking it up or anything else.
Wow.
And it did it not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times. And the other cool thing, which we don't know if the light was on a timer, but the light actually went off. We heard walking in this guy's room, the light went off, and then the REM pod is still going. I mean, it was the coolest thing ever. So to date, I would have to say that was probably my coolest piece of equipment that I've used at an investigation that really was interesting.
So those SLS cameras are nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen those, the kinetic cameras.
Yeah.
And we have 2 of them actually, believe it or not. We've used them at some locations. One of the locations, and we were at a home in Indiana, I'll just leave it at that. And we were investigating a lot of things were happening in the son's bedroom. And we set up the SLS cam, something we don't usually do. We set it up on a tripod and set one of our cameras behind it to film that the entire time it was going. Well, nobody's in this room. We're all downstairs. And the first stick figure comes up. And then there's a second one right there on the bed, which is pointed at the bed. And they proceeded to...
they were having a lot of fun that the rest
they were
of us
having more
wasn't
fun
having.
than the rest of us were.
Oh, happy
this
fun
is not
time.
a joke. They were
happy
going
fun
at it,
time.
okay?
Yeah.
God bless the guy, okay?
happy fun time.
I
Now
mean,
that's so that's a residual, you would say then, right?
Residual, or somebody was horny. I don't
Or
know.
thought, yeah, a horny haunted house. But the only problem I've got with that SLS is, and I can't remember if we discussed this on air last time, but I've noticed, I'm not going to name the show on TV, but they often, I call it a false positive, because I'll just to make it simple for the listeners out there, imagine a room with a chair, and the chair's sitting there, and then all of a sudden the legs appear, and 9 times out of 10 on this chair, oh look, it's got no head, it's been beheaded, it's a headless ghost, right? Well, in reality, you got to understand how the technology works, right, Steve? And it's looking for familiar patterns. It's looking for legs. It's looking for arms. And it's looking for a back and shoulders and a head. And when it gets 4 out of 5, it's going to manifest everything apart from the head. And when you look at a chair, what's it got? It's got legs, it's got arms, and it's got a back.
Yep.
Would you agree with me then that that's a false?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
The thing I was reading First Paranormal's quote there about, I was talking about, he wanted to get one. He's only borrowed one.
Great guy, by the way. I'm going to be in touch with him. He's just starting out, and I love how he goes about it. He's really trying to do a really professional job with limited kind of kit. So I'm really kind of great potential, Steve.
Yeah, the SLSs are good cameras if you control the situation. And it's the same thing with all of these other things. I mean, I remember back an early investigation we did with a group, and we had the K2 meter there. And we were asking questions, asking it to light it up. and it was lighting up on command. You remember? With I don't want to say his name. We thought, wow, this is like really good. And I'm listening and I'm watching. And of course, I was an auditor for years. 17 years, I was an internal auditor for a company. So I watch a lot of things, like even on this, that people are watching. My eyes are all over the place. I actually noticed his hands in his pocket. And I was like, what does he have like in his pocket that he was playing with? And what he did was he had a walkie-talkie, which he turned the volume down on so you couldn't hear it. And every time we wanted an answer to the question, he would push the button in on the walkie-talkie. And the electromagnetic field that would set up would set that K2 meter off.
Oh, what, man?
Yeah, so it's like, I start to pay attention to things. You can't. I'll leave you a quick story because I know we're probably about to go out on a commercial.
There we go. We're on the break. You look at that. What a professional. Okay, I'm telling you, man, you're better at this than I am. We'll be back in a moment. Hour number 2 on today's show with Steve and Jenn Hodgson. Now, Steve, let people know where they can check out your website, where they can get a hold of the books as well, and any other links, YouTube channels, anything you want to get out there, man.
Okay, well, we'll start first with Hodgson Books, HODGSON books.com. From there, you can actually order the books. You can actually order signed copies of the books from us if you want as well. We have the Paranormal website, which is Professional Paranormal Investigations, all spelt out. Sorry, folks. PPI was taken. And even from there, and you can actually get to the other websites from there, especially on the PPI site. You can get to our YouTube channel where we do have some evidence and some videos up. Jen's been talking about the hospital, and I think was it 6 or 7 part series?
There's a 6-part series based on the hospital. That's coming from former
the people that were there,
yeah, people who have investigated there. There is a 6-part series on that. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go and listen to that and hear firsthand accounts of what everyone experienced. And you can also hear that, read about it in my book, Exploring the Unknown, because that's actually the very first chapter of the book.
Now, I'm just looking at some of the chapters in the book here, and then one that jumps out right away, because, again, we talked about the hospitals, things like that. Randolph County Asylum.
Yes.
Oh, that laugh from Steve kind of a bit ominous there. What happened here, guys? Come on.
There's a lot of things that has actually happened at this location. One of the very first things that we were there, I kept walking around this building because I knew there was other things that had taken place, and come to find out there's actually unmarked graves on the property. And the one guy kept telling us, no, it's over here. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not there. So the last time that we went back, the actual historian that was there told us where it was, and it's exactly where I thought it was. But we had a lot of great things happening there. We've had like doors slamming. Shauna and I, one of our investigators was actually in a room. I called it the suitcase room because it did have a suitcase in that room, so we knew which one it was. And Shauna and I both have necklaces on. And earlier in the night, some little spirit or someone had rolled the chain back and forth on my necklace, and they were doing that to her in this same room. And I asked, can you shut a door? Can you slam a door? Can you do something to let us know that you're here? And no sooner than I said that, we actually had a door slam. And so we're trying to figure out who slammed the door, where all of our investigators are. Everybody was accounted for. Nobody slammed it, but we still cannot figure out what door was slammed. So something was there doing that. And then Steve and Elvin and myself, we were in the basement area. Was that the basement area or the kitchen area where we heard this? Yeah. It was like somebody had picked up this like a round metal disc, and then they had just thrown it. And I mean, you could hear it, but we could not find where this was at. And then Steve and Elvin was sitting in a hallway, and they actually had a spirit walking toward them. Yeah. And I will let him tell that part of the story since it's happened.
Well, first off, Kev, it's Haunted Randolph County. If you're looking for the website for it.
Okay, I'll get that.
I see there on the side. It's all one word. HauntedRandolphCounty.com.
All right, got you.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, the place is, you know, Elvin and I are really, you know, we can really investigate really well. We're very quiet, and, you know, we sit and let things happen. You know, a lot of people, when sometimes we're on an investigation, they want a bunch of things to happen. I like we said, to sit back, become part of the room, and just let things happen. And we started, he was at one end of this long hallway, and I was at the other end of the hallway. In fact, the cover of a book is one of the hallways at Randolph County, by the way.
Ah, got you.
Looking at there, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the story about that.
And there was a female, and you could tell it was a female presence, just started to materialize in the middle of the hallway and start to come walking towards us. And one of our members, who nothing was happening to them the whole night, heard that there was something going on and came running down with like flashlights, and then it went away. Mm-hmm. You know, so we didn't get it.
No, I'm looking at this place, man. I mean, come on.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, we get to go. We're going back this year, so we'll have more experiences to actually talk about.
Creepy dolls. Creepy dolls.
Yeah. Well, you know, I got, again, for reasons of disclosure, we do the website, the HauntedRandolphCounty.com for them, but I'm not saying it. You know, the business is business. I would basically just say not even talk about it, but. You know, they've actually done Paranormal Lockdown, was there. And
I love that show, man. That's the one they go in for like 48 hours, 72.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Really like that.
The second season they did, that was the first episode that they did there. And they get same things with this freezer door that's down the basement in the back, just slamming shut.
Yeah.
Now, we keep motion detectors set up and stuff. So if somebody were to sneak into the building, you can't pass these suckers.
Yeah.
They scare the hell out of me because I'm getting old. I forget they're there.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden you're walking down the hallway, ding, ding, you know, and you jump about 10 feet. So we would hear it if somebody came in, but it's an absolutely incredible place. It's so many people have died there. In fact, what was the show that was just there?
Kindred Spirits. I was just going to say, our friend Chip Coffee was actually there at that location, and he actually picked up a lot of the same things that we have picked up as well. I mean, they did too, which was quite interesting to be there.
I would imagine
there's a lot of great things that happen at that location.
You know, the way the Paranormal Lockdown team done it, you know, the way they go about things. Like you were saying earlier, Steve, listening to the room, becoming part of the room. I would imagine if you're there over a number of days, and again, this is something I like that show for, you become familiar, you get to know the sounds of the place, right? It's not just you don't have a 2-hour window where you're just in and out again. So I like the way they go about that, I must admit.
We spend usually an investigation, like in that place, it's 6-7 hours. We're there. We get there early. We set up our cameras and recorders, and then actually we leave it alone for a while. We go outside for about an hour, let whatever's there get used to the camera equipment and recorders and stuff set up. And from that point forward, when we come in, we usually wait till it starts to get dark, you know, because if it's too light. But, you know, that's the old saying, there's paranormal activity in daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's got to be at night. You know, they only come out at night. Now, they're out all day long.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a little more distracting during the day. You got traffic and you have outside noise and you see reflections of light. So most people want to investigate at night, but it's still going on there during the day. We still pick up audio in the daylight hours when no one's inside the building.
So this place for you then is like uber active?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's a really cool, interesting place to investigate. I mean, you always have some kind of experience. You have the women's side and the men's side, and you seem to have more activity on the men's side versus the women's side a lot of the times. But it's kind of interesting how that happens, but it's really cool.
Basically the people that they would put in there that were destitute and left there basically no life. They were left there to basically live out life and die. It's and I think we've talked about this in the other show. All that sad energy and all that negative energy remains in the property.
Yeah. So do you think
that's also a good beacon for evil to come sliding in?
Now, do you think it's recorded in the stone, or do you think it's another dimension on top of ours? And again, there's no way I kind of putting you on the spot there. I think it's a bit of both.
We all leave energetic impressions wherever we go, and even John Edward, when he was talking about his house that he lived in, he knew that the person, because this person was still alive, the person wasn't deceased or anything, but the person who lived there previously had left an energetic imprint in his house, and he actually had to cleanse that out of his space in order for the activity to stop. So we all have an energetic imprint that we leave, whether we're living or whether we're deceased.
Now, you mentioned John Edward there. Is that the medium John Edward?
Yes.
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
my mum's been to see him over here. She's a big fan of his. He's pretty much the real deal, right?
We've seen him quite a few times.
Yeah,
he's really times, when we go up to get our photo with him, we're standing there talking with him, and his cousin, who's his assistant, she's just hilarious. I love her. Her name is Kat.
It's funny because he's from New York, and his dad was a cop in New York too.
Wow.
So when we talk, it's like, same thing with me, and smile. When we smile for the picture.
That's a bit of a synchronicity, that really is. And I'm going to ask you, because my mum goes to mediums, some are, most are crap, but then one comes along that really stands out. And I want to get your take on this, Jen, because when she was talking to my mum and my family, she started to hit upon a pet in the living world. And what she explained was, because she got this kind of magic roundabout, and she was asking my dad about magic roundabout, and he didn't have a clue, but the dog's name was Dougal. So my mum says, could it be a Dougal? So long story short, what she came to learn was that the dog was getting ready to pass. He was old. And her mum was in the kitchen. She was telling my mum that her spirit would be in the kitchen waiting to take the dog over. Mm-hmm. Now, when I first heard that, I'm going to be honest with you, I thought, yeah, cool, whatever. Within 2 days, the dog passed away, just like the woman had said. And I want to get your take on that. Animal spirits coming to collect animals. I mean,
absolutely.
So that is familiar to you then? That's something.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Just as people come for other people, other loved ones to kind of guide the way back, they come for the pets too, so that they can take them back and they take care of them while their loved one is still here. And then this way, when they pass, they can be reunited with their pets. So yeah, it is a real thing.
Wow, I've got goosebumps even thinking about that.
I do too.
Yeah, we're all kind of big. We're all kind of big animal lovers here on the show. Around the show, we've all got cats.
Huge animal lovers.
Yeah,
we have 3 dogs, 2 cats.
I wonder about people.
It is not uncommon for a psychic medium to pick up on an animal. Actually, I think it was Teresa who was talking about where she was doing this reading for this woman, and she kept saying, "I'm seeing a feather," and there was other things, and she said, "It's like your daughter." And she says, "Well, I don't have a daughter," but at the end, she was like, "My cat passed away," and she had the necklace, and she was like, "Well, isn't that basically like your daughter?" And she was like, "Yeah," and so that started to make sense to her. So mediums absolutely can connect to animals just as well as people.
This is Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium she's talking about.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that story, I mean, that's kind of perked my day up, I must admit, because big cat man. My cat's getting old now. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'll get emotional, but
Yeah.
it's
I hear you.
it's comforting to know,
Yeah, and your pet, even though they've passed away, they will still come back and do the same things. You may see a ball rolling around, or you may feel something press up against you, even though, and you look down and you think it's your cat. Well, it really is your cat. It's just in another form.
Wow.
So
And
they absolutely can come back just as people do.
let me stick on that throwing things or rolling things about, because Most Haunted, I think I mentioned it last time, but one of their recent investigations. Now, thankfully, nobody got hurt, but this guy was in a room himself. There's two people there. They both got cameras, separate ends of the prison. Big snooker room, big billiard table, balls lining up on the floor. And then he says, this could get a bit dangerous. And all of a sudden, you literally see the ball flying past them. Now, again, people might say, right, whatever. But I want to get your guys' take on that. I mean, what's the kind of wildest kind of event like that you've maybe experienced,
Let's see. We've seen a ball of light come out of a wooden table. We've seen doors open on their own.
Whoa, hang on a minute. You can't go a ball of light coming out a table?
Oh, come on. We'll just keep reading them off.
Dang.
You got to keep up, Kev. Come on.
This is
We
like my
had a door
friend.
open here,
This is like Jason. He said to me he went to the Hellhound Church or something, and he seen a blue disc manifesting in front of him. So
That's basically what it was. We were in that hospital that we've been talking about, the Blackfoot County Hospital, and we were in the nurses station. There was me, Jen, there
Jason,
was two other,
and Annette.
and Annette, right. There was four of us that were there. And it's a small little nurses station. We're looking at this desk in front of us. And all of a sudden, in the center of the desk, this bluish, whitish light started coming up, like appearing as a ball.
Yep.
And we're all just sit there looking, and I, of course, being the skeptic that I am, I started looking all over the place to see if somebody wasn't playing a game or something, but everybody was sitting there with their jaws hung open. We were all seeing this, and it came the big ball of light, and then boof, it dissipated and was gone.
Yeah.
Oh.
We've had all kinds of things like that happen. And in an old school that we investigated, I physically saw a little girl on the second floor in a white dress.
No, nah, we don't do little girl ghosts and white dresses. Oh, no. Too creepy. Big time creepy. I think it's The Shining that done that to me. I watched that as a wee guy, and I think that stuck with me since then. It really has. But looking at some of the other kind of topics here, one that really comes to mind, pets that attack.
Yes. Yeah, and this actually happened. I mean, we both had something happen. I actually had a cat attack me, and he's had a dog to attack him.
Do you have the audio available at your hand there?
Yeah, I
you
do,
have
yeah.
the audio from where the dog
track
attacks
number
him.
12.
Number 12. Okay, there we go. Let's see, give me 2 seconds. What is that?
Now, if you listen in the beginning again,
him.
it says right at the beginning, that voice says, "Get out of the dog's way."
Right, here we
and
go.
Then you hear the dog attack.
Here we go. Now that voice at the start, tell me that's a human saying that.
No.
That is nobody there.
Hell no.
What had happened is we went to do a prelim at this person's house, and we had done, a walk through the inside. We had done a walk through on the outside, but he had the dog. I guess I should start from the beginning. We went to their house to do a prelim, and he had this dog, and the dog is very playful. He likes to jump on people and stuff. And he said, "Would you feel better if we put him on the chain, on the leash right out here?" Because that's what they did when he had to go to the bathroom and stuff. And we were like, it's fine. But he's like, "No, let me put him on there." And so he did. So we went ahead and we did the walkthrough of the house. We did the walkthrough of the outside, which we saw a lot of things happening outside too. We had like a mist just appear out of nowhere when we were outside. And then, at the end of all of that, doing the walkthrough, we came back inside and we stopped at the door. And he said, "Is it okay if I let the dog loose off the chain?" And Steve's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. We all have pets."
No. Time out. Steve did not say, okay, take the dog off of the leash. The dog was a pit bull that stood up almost to my waist, just on 4 legs. So 2 legs, it was taller than I was.
Well,
and I was not very thrilled about that.
He let the dog off the leash. The dog came over to me and was fine. He was playing with me. He was wagging his tail, no problem. He went to Steve to do the same thing, and he was at the very beginning. But then the dog lunged at his face, and Steve pushed him back. The guy tackled him, put him on the leash, but we told him, do not, don't hit the dog. Don't do anything. We don't know why the dog did that, because that was unusual. It was out of character for that dog. So we come back and he's listening to the recorder, and that's what we picked up.
See, I had a recorder in my pocket because we were going from building to building because he had a barn outside and stuff where there was activity. So when we came out of the house, the recorder was still in my pocket and it was still on. So I never heard "get out of the dog's way" until I listened back to the audio later on.
Oh, right.
And my first words out of my mouth was, "Damn, you need to speak up a little bit."
Now we need
I'm
going to play this a couple of times again, right? I'm going to play it a couple because that there. See at the start, this is one of the rare occasions that I could make out an EVP then, without being told, because basically, I mean, that is so clear. You can hear that easily. Here we go, folks. Get out the dog's way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clear
and
as
it's
day.
amped up, which is why you hear the sound a little different.
Yeah, we tried to fix.
Yeah,
we tried to choose ones that everyone could easily hear instead of needing headphones.
Now, I remember the day quite well because the pit bull lunging at your face.
Yeah, pit bulls are.
Sort of remember for a while.
I mean, pit bulls over here are notorious for being, whatever reason they go a bit rogue and bad things happen, and that's a fair size of dog.
You talked about pets and investigations. I have a problem, especially after that. I love pets.
Yeah.
I love dogs. Half the investigation, I might not even be investigating. I might be playing with the dog.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of person I am.
Everybody in our group is that way.
But if the dog is big, okay, you could be having the nicest dog in the world, but as you see there, something can tell it to do something. And that nicest dog in the world is going to attack. And, I mean, I'm 6 foot, 230 and stuff, but I still don't really want to fight a dog.
No.
And as I'm getting older, my reflexes probably aren't as good as they were 20 years ago. But luckily, when that dog jumped, the first thing, just instinct, was to push the dog's belly and stuff and flipped it backwards so that it couldn't get to my face. And then, of course, as she said, the owner tackled the dog right away and put it on a leash. But it was so out of character for the dog.
And again, it makes you wonder what...
Right away, we're like, don't
reprimand. We didn't want him to do anything
you don't know
to
what...
the dog.
You don't know what...
You just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what the dog's experienced, what's happened to make it go like that,
Right, exactly.
See, and people ask, I say, do pets know if there's a ghost in a room? Okay, and people always say... so a dog or cat, I was like, listen, I said, you walk into a room and a cat's staring up at the ceiling, forget about it. Don't waste your time, because cats can see this little bug crawling someplace and is staring at this little bug. Now, dogs, to me, dogs have ADHD.
Yeah.
So if a dog is sitting there staring at something and not moving and staring at it, I got to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because that's a signal to me that, hey, there's something over there.
Something's holding its attention,
Yeah. I mean, our dogs do that. Our biggest one, Lulu, they're Shelties, but the bigger one just every once in a while would just like watch over in the doorway and stuff.
She got freaked out when the door opened. The door literally opened, and she stood up and looked at the door, and she walked away. And it was a few days before she went back to that bed. It was hilarious.
Now, when we come back after the break, then we've got a lot of these sound clips to get into. Yeah. But give us a taste then of what we're going to hear after the break, guys.
Well, there's we call this our greatest hits.
Yeah.
Okay. There's some of our greatest hits. When we go out and we do the presentations, it's usually the only time people hear these, because 99% of these are people's homes.
Yeah.
So, I don't go around and play this stuff and say, Jack's home, he lives in Green, we try to change where it's at, but it's the only time we actually present any kind of evidence like that publicly. Now, don't get me wrong, the castle we were at and stuff, I'll put that up. I mean, it's good for them as well as it is for us. But some of the stuff that we've had, there's some evil stuff inside of it. There's one clip that we'll hear that every time I do the presentations and I get to this clip, the goosebumps start on my arm. Okay. And as I go through it and it's playing, my whole body inside rattles from it because I know I was there and I know nobody was upstairs. Nobody was upstairs. We were all downstairs. Yeah. And this little girl, first off, there's never any kids at any of our investigations. I won't do it. If you don't get a babysitter and we show up there and there's a kid, see ya. I won't even unpack. Okay. And I'll leave. Only because if something happens as an adult, we can deal with it. Okay. I don't know if I don't want to scar a child. God forbid, like you say, a ball gets flung at them or something.
And I mean, how many times do we hear about the child in the house being the almost the target of any entity anyway?
They are. And that, I mean, it's because every one of us at some point in time, up until a certain age, had the ability and gifts to do everything and connect with everything there. But it's once we got into society and was told that's your imagination or whatever, we shut that door to the paranormal or shut that world to the other side, except some of us didn't.
Yeah.
Because some of us were never told, hey, that's your imagination. But so we continue.
Well, we've seen it actually happen even with kids that have like autism, extreme autism and stuff. It goes after them because they can't protect themselves. So it picks on the weakest link. And usually when you're dealing with that, you're dealing with something evil.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's the evil goes after the easiest target in the house because that's how they get into the house.
We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, over 1,300 shows right here on the network, and you would think I've heard it all, but it always amazes me how time after time we meet new people. They fit right in with the vibe that's going on here on KBS, on TFR, and not only that, I still get aha moments and my jaw hits the floor. I love doing this, and I really hope you're enjoying some of the information tonight. Jason, our own little intrepid paranormal investigator, he loves you guys. He's already inviting you on to Freaky Friday sometime. So that's definitely a high mark of praise from the Wookiees out there. I'm loving this as well. Jen, you are just full of energy, full of life. Steve, I could go for a Guinness with you anytime. And we're going to get back into this now because wow, you've done podcasting yourself, and one of the most really captivating types of shows is when you've got evidence to listen to. And you guys have brought that in spades. Tell us what we've got here, folks.
It's funny because whenever we did the presentations in the libraries, every year we'd say, okay, so what are we going to talk about this year? And it got to the point where they don't care what we're talking about. They come here to hear the audio and to see the video clips. That's what they're here for.
And to talk to me at the end.
Yeah, they really don't care about anything else that's there. Okay, so we'll start with number 2 that's on the list there.
Okay.
And this was our very first investigation that we were at.
This is at the old hospital.
The old hospital. Mm-hmm. And it's Jen, myself, and this other guy, Jason, walking down the hallway. Now, I'll tell you, Jason used to work as Peter Pan in Disney World.
Okay.
He's got a voice that's higher than hers. Yeah. And nothing about him. I'm just saying vocal-wise. I sound like, a baritone to him, okay? And we're walking down the hallway, and there's all these circuit boards, the switch boxes.
Yep.
And the doors are all open. And I asked the question, I said, were all of these doors open? And this is what came through.
Here we go, folks. You ready? No, hang on.
Ladies are coming up. You have number 3 going
Number
there.
2, here we go. Sorry about that, Steve. Sorry, man. I'll put it on to repeat so that it plays it twice. It keeps going. Okay, let's hear that again.
When I asked what it was, it said straight out, look in the camera.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy because the camera was like behind us, but over on the side, and we're standing right here, and the camera's right here, and we didn't even hear that. But he's like, okay, were you guys shutting these? Were these open? You know, whatever. And we're like, no, we're closing them so that nobody hits their head as we're walking. And you hear this look at the camera.
Let's hear this again. Oh, nearly spilled my coffee there. I'm getting that excited by all of this. Here we go. Number 2. That is so clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. Here we go again, folks. One more time. Wow, man.
And as you can tell, I mean, that's a lower voice even than my own.
Yeah, that's a deep
and
voice.
it definitely wasn't her. And
yeah, it wasn't Jason.
The soprano,
it wasn't either one of us. So.
Yeah. Whoa. Well, that ain't
now,
no.
You had number 3 there. We'll go with number 3.
Yeah, that ain't no Peter Pan.
Yeah. Now there's an old jail that's in
Hartford City.
In Hartford City, same place where the hospital was.
It's actually where we saw the woman coming out of the floor.
And yeah, I'll save that video for the next time. We actually have video of spirits coming out of the walls and the floor.
Next time we do this, we'll do it on a weekend, and we'll just go live with video. Yeah,
they can see it all live.
Yeah.
Correct. But you'll hear my sense of humor where we're going up to an area that used to be the ladies' ward. Okay, and you'll hear what I'm saying, on this audio piece, and then listen to the intelligent entity that's there.
Here we go.
I'll let you play that.
Ladies are coming up. Streaming. Continuously.
Whoa, what was that?
The voice actually says, "Higher, Steve Hodgson."
Actually, he says Hodgson, but
yeah.
Well, we'll let him on. He doesn't have that Scottish
But it's
pronunciation.
basically trying to say my name.
Yeah.
Higher, Steve. And trust me, with name like Hodgson, I'm used to being.
He says it as bad as Bill Bean said it. Here we go. We'll try. We'll take a listen
Yeah,
again.
Bill had a problem.
Here we go.
Ladies are coming up. Streaming. Continuously.
Oh, that is pretty clear right enough. That higher. Yeah.
And we didn't hear it. It was an EVP, but it was like, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
let's
like-
think about it. I mean, if somebody spoke like that, I mean, we hear what you sound like. That's totally.
Yeah, it's from a different realm. and
Yeah,
stuff that's on
exactly,
there.
dude. Exactly. Right, hang
Now,
on. We've
number
heard
one-
3 so far. Hang on a minute. These are like 3 of the best EVPs I've come across already.
Oh wait,
oh no, there's more.
Wait, you haven't even touched it yet. Number 1 that's on this list.
Okay.
This was the name of the episode when we did my ghost story, but we got called to do this house from the people from my ghost story, the producers. And I went back to some of the audio to listen back because it was like 3 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We had done like 100 investigations in between. And I found this one right off the bat, and it said, the thing said it a voice, but when I cleaned it up, you'll listen to what the voice is. It's a female.
Here we go. Let's hear that again. That's definitely a female's voice in there.
And it says, I am the devil. Dance.
Oh,
And
wait
at
a
the
minute.
end, it says, ha ha.
Right, wait a minute. Hang on. I need to hear this again now. Oh, no way. Oh, no, it most definitely says, I am the devil. Dance.
Yes.
Kev, you had, let's see, I was sitting here at this desk and I had headphones on and I was going through the things. And as I said, we had said we didn't know what it said. And of course, we had better technology, a couple of years later, and I cleaned it up. And when I heard it, I was like, "Whoa!"
I was
like,
that's
you need to listen
creepy.
to this.
Here we go.
This was actually the recorder that was on the stairs, and at that investigation, most of the time I pushed down the stairs, which that happened at another location, but I was actually pushed up the stairs when we were at this location. I was holding on to the banister as I was walking up. I didn't have shoes on where, there were strings or anything like that. So I know my shoes weren't untied or anything. And I was literally pushed up the stairs. So, and then listening back to this is what we heard.
And let me tell you,
wow.
this guy there was some really bad stuff going on in his house.
Yes.
I mean, he had an 18-year-old girlfriend living there while his wife was there.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was.
Yeah, I mean, she would sleep on the couch, and the girlfriund would sleep with him in the room.
In the bed, in the room. Okay,
yeah.
It was weird. The next one, number 4. You want to set that one up?
Sure. We were all in what we call the records room because it has filing cabinets. Yeah, it's the old hospital. Has filing cabinets where obviously, records were kept. So that's why we named it that. So we knew what it was. We were there. It was like around 4th of July. We were doing an investigation and there were some kids outside and they were mooning everybody. And we decided to take a break. Steve and a few other guys went outside to find out what was going on with the kids. And Jamie, Roger, and myself, we left to go toward what we call Command Central. And as we're walking there, I heard my phone ringing. And so this is the night that the walls, the floors, and the ceiling was.
All right,
was
yeah.
So I'm trying to get to my phone, but I know I have to be careful so I don't fall. And Jamie and Roger were at the T part of the hospital at the hallway. And something grabbed Jamie's legs. And she said that it felt like there was a little kid. And they were feeling down and they said that they could actually feel what seemed like a kid just trying to walk. She had worked at a daycare or did work at a daycare. And she said, I know what that feeling is like. So, we're like, okay, well, later on in the night, we'll ask that question. And later on the night we did. And listening back, this is what we heard.
Okay, here we go. Number 4. I don't even know if I want to play this. Here we go.
You were wrapping your arms around Jamie's legs.
Whoa, what was that?
I was.
That's what it says. I was.
Here we go.
You were wrapping your arms around Jamie's legs.
Oh, you see, oh, I tell you, I knew when I bumped into you two that this was going to be a very, very fruitful relationship. You guys are, I mean, you call this your greatest hits, right? But I mean, how many?
That's not even a quarter of our greatest hits.
Yeah, I was gonna. I'm thinking, how much of a library of these have you got? So, what's number 5, guys? Come on, I want to hear more of these.
Number 5. This is our own home.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
This happened at our house.
We had so much activity. We thought we were hearing at night. We set a recorder, audio recorder, in the bedroom.
Not yet. Pay good money for that.
Yeah, and that's a whole different show. But this is what was picked up on the audio, number 5.
Number 5, here we go. Did that say something
you
come
play
here?
5A, too, because you might hear it better in 5A.
Okay, here we go. Something here?
He's going to get a lawyer.
He's going to get a lawyer. So what happened in this house, the people who previously lived in this house, the girl was actually molested. And so a lot of the things that happened right after we moved in, a lot of the energy was around that. Now, we've since then cleaned all of that stuff out, cleared out the energy and stuff. But that, we think, has a lot to do with what was going on as to why.
That fits the context. Yeah, that gives it some context, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When we went to buy the house to closing, he was there with an ankle bracelet on. And we had to actually sign that he was there for the closing because he couldn't be out of the house. He was under house arrest for molesting his
stepdaughter.
She was like 9 years old when he first started doing it.
Yeah.
And I knew this dude, and this dude was from the fire department here, volunteer fire, and it's bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's going. I don't know what's happened to this world. I suppose it's goes in step with the times we're living in, the darkness,
Yeah.
the evil, you know.
Mhm.
And let's move on to number
Okay,
6.
6A is the old Hartford City Jail. There's a catwalk that goes around to the cells, and there was nobody in there. And this was the recording it picked up.
We actually picked this
Up in,
EVP
like,
up
3
on
places.
it was actually on every recorder.
Yeah.
And then one of the times that we were actually there in the same spot, I was actually physically hearing this girl, and some other things happened, and she was gone in an instant.
Now, has this ever happened to you before? Then you've audibly heard it with your psychic ability, and then it's been caught on tape.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It happens here at the house all the time.
That's pretty compelling. That's really pretty awesome. That.
Mhm.
Here we go. Please tell me that's not a voice all the way through that.
That's the voice. It's the
a
little girl's
girl.
voice saying, "But I don't want to go yet," and stuff. But there's nobody in there.
Yeah.
I mean, and plus there was no little kids.
And
No.
there's other EVPs that we picked up of this little girl where she's actually having a conversation with somebody else, and it all happens around this jail cell. Every bit of it happens around this jail.
That's
Okay,
bizarre.
I want you number 7. It's just easy setup. This is at a library that we were asked to investigate at.
Okay.
I don't need to say anything else.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah.
As I said, that one didn't need much setup.
No,
Okay?
definitely not, man.
Now go to number 9.
Okay.
We'll come back. We'll leave 8 for last. Number 9 was in an empty room at someone's house.
Okay, here we go.
Mom.
Go away.
There's no
Yeah.
better A-class EVP than that. There's no kids in that house.
Oh, come on. That is not right. That's like you say, hang on, I need to hear this again.
Mom.
That's right there. That is, there's no, usually I need to be told what they say.
No, you
Nobody
don't need
needs
to be told
telling
what
what
that one
that
is.
says,
Yep,
you
yep.
know?
Yeah. Now, number 10 was at Waverly Hills at the infamous death tunnel.
Okay, here we go. Now I hear something there. Hang on.
It's
Is
calling Jen.
that number 10, yeah?
Yeah, it's calling Jen. The name Jen.
Yep. Blatantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting because that night there was the sweet smell in this one room, and that had never been smelled before. And so our tour guide, when she was walking with us to the death tunnel, when she first opened the door and stepped inside, she actually got to experience that firsthand. And then when we were in the death tunnel, I mean, obviously we didn't get to stay there long, but that was what we found from that area.
You know, when I listen to this with Anne tomorrow, or whenever we listen to it again, she's going to be really kicking me and laughing because she gets them. She hears EVPs, she gets it. Her ears tuned to it, you know. Some people hear them, some don't. But these, I mean, the whole
It's hard to dispute what's on some
No,
of
I
those.
mean, this is some of the best I've ever heard, man.
Now,
and
number
you as well.
11, we were at, it's a place called Thornhaven Manor.
It's where I was pushed down the stairs.
And we had, believe it or not, a camera crew. Now, we didn't have it, but PBS was doing a documentary. And they had contacted us, and we went to the Crump Theater, and we went to this place with them. And we were doing an investigation, and we were asking questions. And listen to what it actually says.
They were upset with me.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. What it says is quit asking questions, is what it says. And then you don't hear it on there, but our camera system that we had, the kitchen camera, all of a sudden just completely shook back and forth, dust everywhere and stuff. But yet when we went into the kitchen, was nothing there.
What we were doing was we were in the living room, we were asking questions, and I was asking Mr. Powell if he could make his presence known and some other questions. And we heard what sounded like pots and pans being thrown in a kitchen. You know how they,
Yeah.
or even like a pot rack, how they're all up there, and if you smack them together, how they make that sound.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it sounded like. So we're like, there's nothing in that kitchen. There's nothing in this house. And so we go into the kitchen and you don't see anything. You don't see anything flying up. You don't see that the camera's moved. And so when we came home and we're watching that camera back, that's when we noticed that the camera had moved, not slowly, it had moved quickly. There was dust flying in the air. And then that recorder was actually sitting on the servant's stairwell. And when we listened back, that's the EVP that we picked up, and it all connects to that same moment. And it was probably about 15 minutes later after coming down from downstairs, as I was coming downstairs, and I was pushed down the stairs, I guess, because they were tired of me asking him questions.
Well, listen, I mean, we've got our, 2, 1, then we go back to 8. But I really love you guys, right? But at the same time, I don't often get creeped out on my own show, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. But
we did number 12, which was the dog attack.
Okay.
So we're going to go to number 8.
Okay,
8A.
then.
You're probably better. Now, I'll set this one up because this is the creepiest of all of them, guys. Anybody that's listening, this one bothers me. And I'm not usually bothered by stuff. This one bothers me. We went to this house, and it's an old house. I mean, really old. It almost looks like Civil War type of home. You know, like what was in the movie Gone with the Wind? Almost looked like that kind of a house. You walked in the front door. I like handiwork. The hand carved stairwell and everything was phenomenal.
Like the house Bill was in recently.
Right.
That colonial
exactly,
type thing.
Like the one he was in that show. Correct. And they had 2 side rooms. First time I walked into one side room, immediately I had visions of a pentagram painted on the floor. Don't ask me why, but it's very rare that I get visions and stuff, and I saw a pentagram on the floor. And there was none there, but it was painted. I could stand there and show you.
It makes it more profound.
Yeah.
It does that you don't really tune into that thing usually, right? That makes it more important.
Exactly. And the homeowner that was there was, he had changed a lot. When we went to do the prelim, Jen is in the bedroom talking to the wife, and I was standing out in the hallway right outside the door, and the husband was in the bathroom with his little daughter. They were fixing the dishwasher.
It was the washer.
The washing machine or something. And they're talking, and I hear him, really nice to his daughter and stuff. And he says, okay, he takes off his wedding ring because I guess he had to stick his hand in the machine. He says, I want you to hold this and bring it to mommy. It's like, okay. And he says, no, I want you to bring this to mommy. And he says, okay. I'm going to edit the language of what he said next was, I told you to effing hold that. And I was like, what? It was like, whoa. It was like so out of place.
Yeah.
And
it was like, wow. So we did the first investigation there. He did not, whatever it was that was possessing this guy, did not want us there. Yeah. So he did everything humanly possible to screw up our investigation.
And he did.
Okay. I mean, he stayed in the one room and watched TV when we're trying to do stuff. And then he went upstairs and he was doing stuff. Okay, fine. So they apologized and allowed us to come back. So he left the house. Him and his wife went to the movies and they were going to stay at a hotel overnight. They came back at midnight to get something. Okay, well, no problem. We stopped. We took a pause, a break. They went upstairs, got what they wanted, and they came downstairs. Now, we're all talking downstairs. Listen to what the upstairs recorder recorded.
Yeah.
that at the end?
Okay, so for those that are listening, the first thing is you hear the little girl say,
Mommy.
"Mommy."
Yep.
And then when you listen, or you'll hear slaps. I mean, actually slap sounds, like type of a sound. You hear two of them. And then the male voice is like, "Shut up, shut up." There's nobody upstairs in this
No,
place.
we're all
I
accounted
know
for.
where we all were. We had the video to prove where we all were. And this was upstairs, and this freaked me the hell out. Okay, I'm sorry. Of all the EVPs and stuff we have, this one freaks me the hell out.
It's actually, the whole story is actually in the book. I mean, there's more to what happened at that house, and I do go into
I want, I've been by the area. We passed the highway. And one day I was going to go someplace, and the place was closed. I was by myself, and I found myself come around. I was passing the area. I was like, I'm going to drive past the house. Okay. And I, took up the side road around past the house. I mean, it's on a bend. There's nothing else there but a church all the way at the end of the property, which kind of ironic because the guy who's the minister there now, the pastor, is a close friend of ours. Mm-hmm. That he's at this place.
Or
yeah,
what?
You want to talk about a small world.
Steve, is this the most evil place you think you've been?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There's stories, and we'll go into them next time, or even in her book there, where people even came back that used to live in the house.
Yeah.
And the stories that they were saying that took place in there. Let's put it this way. He was shooting at his kids. Mm-hmm. The police showed up. The police knew all the stories over the years about this house. They would not go inside this house.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
There's another lady, too, who lived in this house, and I don't know what happened, but there was a conversation going on Facebook, and my daughters knew of the location because I had said, hey, we're going here. And so they tagged me in this message that was going back and forth. And a lady who was in her 80s who used to live in this house said, because I asked her, I sent her a message. I said, can you talk about this house? She says, I will not talk about what happened in that house because I'm afraid it will start to happen again.
Yep. And First Paranormal, I can't tell you where it's at.
Oh, I tell you. I'm going to have to upload this to YouTube just so people can see me absolutely myself. Absolutely crapping it. Yeah, you know it. Guys,
I'm telling you,
I want to play this one EVP again, though, and I want to play this for people. Take a listen to this, folks. Get your headphones on, crank it up, close your eyes tight, and climb under the sofa. Take a listen to this. Yeah, you definitely hear the slap.
Yeah, there's another one. It's the second one.
Folks, stay tuned for Lucky and Dr. Brooks Agnew. Check out Steve, where is it? HodgsonBooks.com. I'll link it in the description. Don't go anywhere, folks. Quantum Connections on the way. Wherever you are, make it TF.